about down to our 20-inch mark, so it's time to pull the siphon out of there, stop the flow of water. We can then begin to pump the new salt water back into the tank.
And we have 100 gallons of real ocean water in a container in the van. And we're going to pump it from the van all the way back into the house.
So our filter system consists of a 2-pump system, one being the canister filter and a chiller, which is actually located outside along with its water pump. The other being a biological filter, more specifically a commercial bio wheel. The bio wheel is a very efficient biological filter, but it needs to be protected in a sense, or in this case pre-filtered, of the large particles that would very possibly plug it up or certainly reduce its effectiveness. So we're going to change out that filter pad. The new pad lies across the top of the bio wheel itself, and its job is to trap particles, so it minimizes what's going to restrict or plug up the bio wheel itself. So we chipped off a piece here in the process of taking it out. Being fiberglass, I think we could use some PVC cement, since I don't have resin here, to glue this piece back in. And it seems like it'll fit right in there, so there's 2 points that it rests on.
So now that the coral reef sculpture is in repair, we can turn our eyes and attention back to the tank that's been filling up in the meantime, and it looks like we're just about full, so we need to shut down the water.
The water level is now going over the overflow, down into the filter. We need to plug the system back in.
So in this type of system, as all the water gets filled up in the tank, it'll spill over into the filter below. The filter below is where the fluctuation in water level occurs, as the tank's water level will always be the same.
Well, we calculated right down to the ounce, and we have to add about 10 gallons more to fill the reservoir.
So we've added the additional 10 gallons of salt water to fill the reservoir up to the full mark. We're now going to take the opportunity to clean the inside of the tank once again, so that we can begin to put the coral sculpture back into place. As I mentioned earlier, and you've probably noticed, that the coral sculpture is about 6 different pieces. They all go in a certain way, and they start with the center piece, which has to straddle over that intake tube that you saw earlier. I've done this tank long enough that I know if I don't get it positioned just properly, it'll become awkward to get to the front side of it or the back side of it. And since I service this tank on a weekly basis from this side, the back side, it's important that I position the sculpture in a way that works convenient for me every week from this point on. It's important that the foundation pieces, the ones that sit directly on the bottom of the tank, actually sit on the bottom of the tank and not on a layer of gravel. So we have to move the gravel out of the way to place the foundation piece so that it's securely fastened or solidly positioned on the bottom of the tank. We can then begin to build upon that. In this case, we have to connect the bottom and the top piece so that a passage for the air line that brings air bubbles down to the bottom of the tank can pass through. Here we'll begin to assemble the top half of the opposing side.
Connectors down below.
Straight down. Got one. There you go, straight.
These are simple PVC pipe connections, but not so simple 2 feet down below the surface of the water. Now with the coral sculptures in place, we can begin to smooth out the gravel around them. In addition to the coral sculpture, we have a set of decorative corals that we can place in and around and on top of the sculpture to add some additional elements of color and shape. I've mentioned before that I have a real fondness for the real skeleton version of corals. The fact that you can easily remove them, bleach them, and they'll retain their white, bright, shiny colors makes it, in my opinion, very attractive in an aquarium. And now that we've filled the tank and redecorated it, it's now time to clean up after ourselves. As with any job, cleaning up after yourself is a very important aspect because it's a good reflection on the overall quality of work that you provide.
And so that's how we overhaul a 200+ gallon aquarium. Cleaning the sculpture, vacuuming the gravel, and doing a relatively large water change. A little more radical means of solving the algae problem. But it looks beautiful. I think we solved the problem.